Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Laura Crapo. Today I thought I would do something different and talk about art school. I went to a bunch of art schools first. First, I had a great art teacher who what's her name? I think her name was Anne Strawn. Anyway, she was great. She taught at the Lawrence Academy in Groton, Massachusetts, United States, while another teacher that I wasn't crazy about went on leave, maternity leave or something. And the other teacher I wasn't crazy about, like, actually took a brush to my painting to show me how to paint, which is like a big no-no. and then in the crit a few weeks later, she's like, this part of the painting is my favorite. And I was like, that's the part you painted. Okay. Anyway, so that was like, because before that, I was making these, I think I have them, it's not in this room, but like, I have them here. I have a sketchbook from my teenage years. It's just like these really loose doodles of like Grace Jones and David Bowie and stuff. And which is like early evidence that I was into this sort of glam kind of music style. So okay, so she really helped me learn about like drawing it negative space. So it's like, for those of you who don't know what that is, I'm sure everybody's like, I know. But like, for those of you who don't, let's say there's someone in front of you, you're trying to draw like your friend's face, draw everything except your friend, and like, like the countertop, like where it reaches their ear, and like stop there. And then like, once you're done drawing everything but them, they emerge like in perfect, usually, proportion, because you're not getting distorted, like you're not getting obsessed with their eye shape and then you make the nose too small or whatever. But when you draw a negative space and you train your eye to like draw everything but the thing you're trying to draw, you learn to see like better in a more neutral kind of fashion or whatever. So it's like those kind of training exercises are super like, oh, like you can feel yourself aging while you're doing it. But then when you've done it, you're better at drawing. Congratulations. So that was a massive like leap in my abilities, that having lessons from her. And she would also like let us in good weather, like outside, like draw outside in the wild, just to kind of spice it up and draw different stuff than just like what's in the classroom. And so that was great. So aside from those early early days, like in high school, I think they tend to teach you like the building blocks of art, right? But as soon as you get into like the Bachelor of Fine Art, like when you go into a university art school environment, when I went to school, I don't know what it's like today. I imagine it's only gotten worse in this regard, but so like I had done a lot of like figure drawing, and then I didn't go automatically to art school after high school because my parents are both heavily academic, and that would have been like a real act of rebellion, or just ordering off the menu, like outside of the menu. Like, which so I was like, well, I love literature, so I will major in English and minor in like philosophy or whatever. So I did that. at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, which is like is known for having a massive prison for like the worst, hardest like criminals in Canada. And then you have literally like there's a student residence tower that like can look into the prison, like they're that close. So it's like so in that small community, which was the original capital of Canada, until they moved it to Ottawa. It's a bizarre town where you have like families and friends of the incarcerated and the staff and whatever, and then you have a bunch of 19 to 22-year-olds whipping it up and like going, going to class and whatnot. So it wasn't like my favorite place to be. That town, like I like nature. It's like sort of natural, but like it's also the culture at that time in 1986 was like a National Lampoon kind of movie. Uh, yeah, like I pulled up the first day just to get directions to my dormitory, and this engineering student who was like dyed purple was trying to like make me go down this road where I would get hazed by the engineering students, and I was like, yeah, no thanks. Skip that. And then as it turns out, like I'm not somebody who loves to talk about, like I don't really love expository writing. Like I love literature, I love philosophy, but like trying to regurgitate it in an academic fashion was just like nails on a chalkboard. Like what is my life, right? I think I actually wanted to write and think rather than write about people who did that. Um, and also, like libraries back then were not computerized. It was like find the card in the drawer, and then maybe the book is there, maybe it isn't. Like everything just took forever. I'm sure today, expository writing or researching something's like fun or easy, or you could do it from your house. Like, you couldn't back then. Like when I went to university, there were computers, but not many people owned one. And when you wanted to print something out, it was dot matrix. And so it just came out like a sheet, a continuous sheet, and you had to like rip them all and rip off the circles on the sides and everything. And then, even then, it was like very kind of a faded, squint-eyed type form. And anyway, so okay, so then I had like a major life hiccup situation happen that year, and then I was just like, this sucks, and also I don't like I don't like my classes. And I had been taking like one art elective, like a painting class, and the teacher said to me like, you should be in the art program, and I was like, yeah, whatever, like not interested. But then after I had this big like sort of life trip and fall kind of like I was like, why don't I just do what I'm good at instead of trying to fit in where I don't even want to be, with the academia stuff. Just because my mom or something would be good at writing an essay on King Lear or whatever, whatever book we were reading it in class. Doesn't, I didn't get that gene for expository writing. Like maybe now that I'm almost 60, I can write a pretty good essay, but I still don't want to write the kind of essay where I have to like do footnotes. Like just I could write a clear, effective like just opinion piece or something. But just I got no time. I'd rather wash dishes at McDonald's where they don't even have dishes, like than to write an essay with footnotes. Anyway, so I was like, okay, like I'll major in art, like whatever. So there, it was like right to the wire. Like maybe I was even a few days after they closed admissions for fine arts. But since I like knew one of the teachers and was already kind of in the building somewhat, um, I asked permission to show them my portfolio. And like just to back up 2 steps, when I was still in high school, which was in northwestern Massachusetts, which is really close to Vermont. Like I knew this artist George Tooker, who's like a really amazing, well-known painter, who my dad was friends with, and and because I sort of was like, maybe I kind of like art, like, and he was nearby, and I was like, hey, I asked my dad, like, hey, do you think you could ask George if I could come visit him and just see his home studio and like what it's like to be an artist, as a life choice? And then he wrote back to my dad saying, like, of course, come stay with me for a couple of weeks. And so I did that, and it was great. And that's like a whole other topic for another day. But so anyway, I said to George on my visit, I was like, I was like asking him about like his really cool paintings, and I was like, what, maybe I asked him like, what is it about? Like, it was, maybe he was working on something with one of his geometric drawings with like people in them to, kind of just Google him. And so, and he's like, as a rule, I don't like describe my work. And so I just had that in the back of my mind. So like when I was just kind of like not in the mood, or whatever, kind of like on the fence, like I was applying to get into the fine arts department, but I was kind of like, just in a sort of ballsy, whatever, like kind of mood. Or maybe it's because also my age and like 19 or whatever, like attitude or whatever. So they were looking at my portfolio, like 2 professors, and they were just kind of like quietly looking through them, and then they're like, well, what's this one about? And it was a weird drawing that was an exercise where my really good art teacher, I forget his name, but he was like a cool guy. He was like, I want you to make like the worst painting or drawing like that you can make. Just make it just total garbage. Anyway, so, which was a cool exercise because actually it turned out to be kind of cool. So anyway, and I didn't really feel like describing it, like, so I just remember what George told me, and I said to them, as a rule, I never describe my work, and they were just looking at each other like big-eyed or whatever, and they didn't say anything. But like, anyway, I got in, and whether it was on the merit of my work or attitude, I don't even know. But anyway, I got in, and then so the next year it was like I was a lot happier doing fine arts, and they at Queen's University I don't even think they have a fine arts department anymore, but they it was very like, hit the gym with like painting, like just all the time, like work. Like if I think we had like to do complete like at least 3 paintings a week that were like complete, and just like life drawing, like just over and over and over again until you can't even you forget that you're even drawing. Like just so much practice and like live model, which was gross, and or like still life. I still have some of those. I think some of them are in storage, but it's cool. They're still like maybe they're still like the ones I've maybe worked the hardest on in terms of just like really trying. So they really put us through uh training and also color theory and stuff, and like they made us do this exercise where they made us buy all the oil paints or all the acrylic paints, whatever, every color. I'm sure that's not the case everywhere, but like we had to there. And so we had to paint each of each color like on a square piece of paper. And then we had to put that paper in various distance in a shoebox with a hole cut out, varying distances away from the front hole. So it got darker and darker. So we had to do like gradations of like trying with the different colors we had to like reproduce the shadow version of green or whatever. And it was just like again like oh like, and there were some cheaters who like bought the old chips, the old like assignment from people from the year before and just didn't do it. But like it showed like later because like they never kind of showed that maturity with color, I think some of the people. But I just did it anyway because I was like used to persevering uh with something boring because I knew that it would result in something. So uh at the end of the day you realize that you can never reproduce that color, like haha, like jokes on you, but like putting different colors side by side can create a whatever, a different effect. Like for instance, like what's that guy's name? Anyway, like is it Rubens? Anyway, like using red, like a bright red instead of like a white, to make something pop, like as like a white color would with your eye or whatever, like stuff like that. So it's kind of at the end of the day, it's just like throw everything up in the air, like you can't reproduce that color. Good luck, you're gonna have to find a way to communicate how that color feels like or whatever. So suffice to say that Queens for the foundation year that I went there was like a lot of like hard work, and it really brought my work like to another level. And then I dated this guy who was like the Ontario judo champion, like really like a wild card kind of person. I'm not going to get too much into that, but anyway, it was like living dangerously kind of person. And he ended up convincing me to come on this Westphalia kind of trip through the states. He was obsessed with like sculpture and conceptual art and stuff, which like the whole trip, like we went to see Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty and like the lightning field, like that's like a whole story. And then we ended up seeing like the very large array just by chance, and that was really cool. So we ended up in Victoria, at the University of Victoria. He was like obsessed with the sculpture teacher, who will remain nameless because I'm not a huge fan. and may rest in peace, I think. And so then he was kind of trying to convince me like I should go there too. You know, I wasn't in love with Kingston, like I said, so I was kind of like up for change. But like Victoria, BC is like really far from Ontario, so it was like a big. And also like back in the 80s, like British Columbia, I don't know, like it wasn't like I think I'm an East Coast person. So, everybody was like too laid back and like they wore like exercise wear all the time and they were all like either bragging about or planning their next hike. And I was just like I'm not against hiking, but I don't want to like hear about it. And it, and nobody did hardly any work. Like they were very slow at the art school. Like if you did even like one project a term, it'd be like, why are you trying to show everybody out? Like, like it was not a fast paced art school like Queens was, and but they were kind of more into like contemporary art. And anyway, so I ended up doing like sculpture and photography more because like this ex-boyfriend like knew how to use like every woodworking machine and table saw and like how to weld. And like so all of a sudden he was like teaching me. It wasn't the teacher, so it was like he was teaching me how to use all this stuff. So I kind of like ended up making cool sculptures and like grinding steel and arc welding, whatever. And then also learning darkroom photography there. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff. And maybe I just like brought it. Wasn't painting, but I was like drawing a lot because I really like drawing. Anyway, uh, and then it was clear that that guy was like basically sleeping with everyone behind my back, and it was just like a really small community. And I wasn't like I loved all the fresh food in Victoria. Like my goodness, like it's really hard to go back east after having access to like really fresh, like right off, right, like picked and then driven to your hand, like and also like there's this, I don't know if it's still there, but like the Oak Dairy, like cows that had grazed on Vancouver Island. And then like glass bottle. It was just like everything was just like, for me, British Columbia good memories are all about all the great food and like vegetables and fruit that I had there, like incredible. And but I haven't been there since like 1988, so like I don't know what it's like today. Um so then I was just like, I don't want to be around this guy. And I had seen this movie that actually he recommended I watch called Life Classes, which was a movie filmed in Nova Scotia that took place at Nova Scotia College of Art and Design about this like single mom, I think, who's going through stuff in her life and she just wants to take art classes. And so it's called like Life Classes or whatever, but it's really about life. And it's cool. And so then they showed the scene where it was like a visiting artist or like a crit or something. And I was just like, oh, I like that vibe of. And then the ex-boyfriend, also told me like Nascad's like a really cool place. And I was like, I had never heard of it. And I knew that like I was on Victoria, which is like the edge of the earth on the west coast of Canada. And I knew that Nascad was on the edge of the earth right on the complete other side of Canada. And I was like, I want to get as far away from this guy as possible. So I applied to Nascad with like all the sculpture kind of stuff I'd made at UVic. And I got in. And so I left like partway through. Like I spent like 2.5 months at UVic in the next September. And then as soon as I got that letter, I was just like, I'm out of here. And uh, I moved like a bit early to Halifax and had an amazing time at NASCAD, and it was by far the best undergrad art school experience in general, uh, including like being in a nice place like Halifax. It's not perfect, but it's like really nice, and it's close to the beach, and there's a bunch of lakes. I'm like a big lake person, and terrified of the ocean. I'll go 10 feet in. That's about it. But in the ocean, but lakes, I'm just like a full on yes for lake swimming. So, um, and blueberry picking by the shore, like there were a lot of like plus like check marks on Halifax. And then it also had like a really cute music scene, which they may touch on later, but in terms of art school. So like at UVic, they were really trying to like get heavy with the conceptual stuff. It's like, why did you make that? You know, like and like, and how does that fit in with contemporary conversations and movements and whatever? You know, and like I liked critiques. You know, I like ideas and stuff like that, but like at the end of the day, like I'll come back to that later, but like so and at NASCAD, it was sort of like a really good mix of learning how to do stuff. Like I learned how to work with video and edit video on the analog big machines and stuff, and having that like good trigger finger to know when to press the button to like actually hit the right spot and stuff. And so I got really heavily into kind of performance art and video art. And so I'd like video some of my performance art and stuff. And then I did other stuff too, but like that was sort of like, and then I did installation art. So it was like multimedia, like there might be some performance, there might be paintings and a sort of a walkthrough kind of experience. Uh, okay. And then, so, but I didn't feel that like oppressive, like be relevant, like, you know, pressure at NASCAD. It was more just like you be you and isn't this fun? And every department is open. I took jewelry making too, like not like little miniature welding jewelry work, which I loved. And like, had I not been like so entertained by other forms of art, like it would have been maybe a cool career to have because I enjoyed it. But so so NASCAD was like very like life affirming and expansive and like joyful, and uh it's like a good atmosphere at that time. And I'm gonna say it was like 1989 to either 88 to I think I graduated NASCAD in 91. I'm gonna say it was 91. Uh so yeah, just like the cusp there of the 80s into the 90s. So, it's a whole other video. But like, um, and then I had this teacher at NASCAD who had just done his MFA at the Art Institute of Chicago, and he's just like, "Oh, it's so great there! Like, oh I love it! Like, whatever." And then at the time, it was like the highest ranked master's program like in North America or something like, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just apply it. Like I also took like, because like I said, I'm bad at expository writing or unwilling to really devote myself to it. There was amazingly miraculously a class I could take at NASCAD, basically called applying to an MFA program. So for a semester, he got us super organized. We had like a binder. We had all our slides. Like when you applied to stuff, then you had to buy like a carousel, put your slides in order in it, and mail the whole freaking carousel, just like a deep dish pizza, to the art school, and they would like plop it in and like turn the lights off and like go through your slides. That was, and then they'd mail it back to you. So I got it. I didn't apply to any other art colleges. In hindsight, I think I would have maybe applied to like Goldsmiths or like some like Chicago. I didn't really know much about it. I knew it was in the Midwest, and it was a large, culturally relevant city in many ways. Like, it really wasn't. It wasn't in my playbook at the time. So I just applied to one place and got in. I was just like sleepwalking through life and went there. And it like it has a facility. It has teachers, but like none of the teachers were like freaking me out with like I think the thing was like MFA is like a 2-year program. So you kind of have to like before you even get there kind of know what you're going to do. There's no time to be like, what am I going to do? Like there's no time. And also like if you want to do like a teaching assistant thing, you have to like plan that a year ahead of even when you get there to even ask permission for that to just get if you're on like I want to be an art teacher track, like the ass kissing starts like 12 months ahead of time. So I was just like, I just showed up there and, and then I was taking like multimedia, which they're like installation art, which they called time arts at the time that like, and they gave us like a windowless room with no privacy, just like a little L-shaped partition where anyone could just at any time just peek in and go see what you're working on. Like it wasn't for an introvert like myself, wasn't ideal. And also like I like sunlight. Not being in like a cement box all day. So it wasn't ideal in many respects for me going there. And then on top of which, they don't let you use like the video department machines. You signed up for fucking popsicle sticks, gluing popsicle sticks, and using whatever crafts you can get your hands on in your time arts program. But if you want video, like you're shit out of luck. So it was a real shocker coming from NASCAD, where it was just like, we love you, you do anything you want. Like, it's like you had to like make friends with someone in the video department to like get time on the machine. And it was like really slowed down to a screeching halt, like video making for me. And it was like, so I kind of like reverted back to drawing and painting a bit in my installations because I was like, what else am I going to do? On top of which, well, I don't know. Like I think the range of students that were there, you could do pretty much whatever you wanted. They weren't too heavy with the conceptual art. I would say UVic was the most fierce with that stuff, but nonetheless, they were teaching that, and like you had to kind of prove why your work was relevant or like worth getting a passing grade. But I kind of in hindsight, with all my art school stuff, like in gallery shows and like group shows and solo shows, like that whole kind of white box thing. Like I think like the white box gallery is like a very dated kind of like they weren't doing that not that long ago. Like it's a very recent and also like I want to just add one more thing in there. Like when I went to NASCAD, they like there was an outgoing school president who was like awesome and beloved and like an artist himself, and then like he was replaced by kind of this like executive kind of guy who like came from CSIS, which is like the same as like the CIA or whatever in the States. And it was just like, why, why do they want someone from CSIS to be like in charge of an art school? Like are they trying to get like ahead of the game in terms of like outspoken people or what? Anyway, it was just like that was weird. So, but it didn't like ruin the school while I was there. And uh, but like just as a little aside, like while I was at NASCAD, uh, because there was a thriving in independent music scene, like I met and like took part in and wrote songs and performed, uh, and also was a music video director under the name Laura Borealis, but for the art and for the music videos. And then so then when I was in Chicago, I was like, oh my God, like the thing that I loved in Chicago was actually the music scene and just like how all these international bands like Melt Banana or like, you know, all the it just created like a lot of really cool bands I saw. Um so I spent a lot of time at Lounge Acts, like really like clocking in like regularly, like multiple times a week. So, you know, just seeing bands because I was like, oh my God, like this is great. And um so that was like you could say a distraction too, but because it does take time to like make art and stuff. Anyway, so the stuff I made in Chicago is really edgy and very like personal from like the nightmares of my like I just wanted to like shake the freaking sheet, the dusty sheet out and just like you know what's what's bugging me like what's you know what's this like stuff I went through in life and like how can I turn that into like an installation. Anyway, so it's like you know it's like it wasn't something it wasn't I was sort of saying like well if I'm going to move to Chicago I'm going to be like very outspoken and just feel free because I'm like so far from my family and like people I know. Like, whatever. And like Chicago's kind of like a badass like vibe or whatever. So um that was that. And but in the at the end of the day, like while it's you know a good workout to jump over these various hurdles that school like MFA, BFA kind of school throws at you to try to intellectualize art making. Um, I would say that like you don't have to go to art, that many years of art school. Like one good benefit of going to art school is like meeting people, like because in your everyday life you're not it's not going to be like artist like everywhere you know and so if that's your kind of mindset it is really healthy and good to be around people who have similar likes and so but you don't have to go for 4 years like no one's like when you decide to have a solo show it's like well did you graduate like no one's gonna say that like it doesn't literally doesn't matter and like it literally doesn't matter unless you want to like get a job working at a museum like it doesn't matter if you have a degree like, honestly. So if you just wanna make art, like, you don't need any qualifications other than having made art, and, so, like, if I would say that, like, staying long enough to meet some people, like, you can meet a lot of people in 1 year, or, like, you could go for 2 years, and, like, and also, like, with university, you don't age out of that. You can, like, go for 2 years, live your life if you wanna, like, clock in another year of credits, like, event you can be 89 when you finally get your degree, like, it literally doesn't matter when you graduate or if you graduate, but, like, the benefits of art school would be meeting people, and that can be for 1 semester, it can be for a year, or, or you could do the whole thing, but, like, if it's not affordable to go the whole program, just go for a year. Like, they don't need to know you're just going for a year when you sign up. Yeah. Um, anyway, so I would say that, and then also, like, I felt like at that when we got that different president of NASCA who wasn't an artist, who was, like, I don't know if he was hired because for, like, CSIS kinda reasons, or if because he was, like, a good businessman, or what, I don't know, whatever, administrator. Um, I have no he didn't last very long, and, that to me was like a seismic shift where it just felt like since then, like, I could be wrong, but, like, it seems like, yeah, people were hammering home, like, that it wasn't in vogue to, like, learn to, like, life drawing was, like, passé, or, like, "Why would you draw a person?" Like like like, there was a lot of that talk at UVic, University of Victoria, like, they had no life drawing classes, and it was weird, like, coming from Queens where it was, like, too much life drawing in a good way, so, like, it's like, draw something conceptual instead of, like, something real or whatever, you know? And I'm not against people who love that, do it, like, enjoy, but, like, what made me better as an artist was just, like, putting in those, like, uh, hard, like, training hours, and then also not having that pressure, not having someone over your shoulder going like, "You should be talking about this," like, I think especially as an artist, you are your resource, uh, in order for it to be authentic in your style, like, it's stronger, I think an idea should come from you rather than being bullied by some, like, people who, like, want art in general to go, like, a certain way, or whatever, like, uh, talking is great, but, like, if the talking portion of it takes place more than the doing, then when you graduate, it's like, I don't even know what to do, like, because I haven't been, like, doing, like, making stuff, I've just been talking about it, so, like, while it is valid to have some kinda, like, theory or philosophy thrown in there, because it is like a academic degree, um, like, as an older person, my recommendation is, like, just take or leave, like, that stuff, you don't have to go for the full 4 years, or, you know, um, make sure you find out, like, what the vibe of the school is, like, is it gonna be a good, environment for you? Like, are you a big city person? Are you a small town person? Do you wanna, like, for instance, like, it was cool to go to Chicago for the cultural stuff, but to focus on art and stuff, it was distracting to be in an exciting city, So I almost think like, like the Kingston and the Halifax where there wasn't like that much going on. It's like you could tour this town in a day, Um, whereas Chicago, it's like never ending. Like it's like fractally interesting or just nonstop. Like it's such a big city. So you know, just figure out like if you want to go to art school, like figure out what environment suits you the most and to kind of, I mean, now it'd be easy to figure out what kind of school because it'd be like a million and one testimonial videos on the school. It's easier. I literally went from like one person's word of mouth recommendation. You have more at your disposal now. So, and just like honor yourself in the process. Don't be like thrown on like a whatever, like a rapids raft with a bunch of people down some kind of river that you don't even want to go down. Like, you know, and thematically or it's your life and there you can switch schools, like I did. And I was like, if it hadn't have been for NASCAD, I probably wouldn't have had like good memories of art school. But I don't know what it's like today. I can't like I don't want to hype it up if it sucks right now, but like if it still has that aspect of being able to use different departments' tools to like make your work, then that's like doing better than most art schools and stuff. But like in general, the work that I love that I made that I love the most wasn't influenced by other people or like pressure, like uh, you know, societal pressures of any kind. Um, and I also am not interested in gallery work. Uh, and like for me, like I'm really obsessed with Russian medieval religious iconic like painting and stuff. Also because like I have a spiritual side, so it's like resonates there too. But I just like anything pre-Renaissance where they're not like cartoonishly trying to. That's not. You could say that medieval stuff's more cartoonish, but I don't like realistic. I don't like Renaissance painting, and and anything after that, it's kind of like to me not as good. But anyhow, suffice to say, it's the classes where you're really pushed to like see well and like just tediously try again. And let's say even if you're not interested in drawing realistically, like uh, just drawing or painting or whatever you do, like just do it as often as possible and so that you're not getting lazy with it and your style will emerge. And like I would say that like your inability to draw well or paint well is your style and like embrace it. um like I had a roommate, a friend who we lived together for a year, and when we lived together I would let her use my painting supplies. I was encouraging her to paint because like I liked the way that she drew, which was very um uh, like can you say naive style, like like folk art kind of style. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I love this. Like, use my stuff. I want to see you painting. And she was saying that her friends and family like made fun of how she drew or painted. And I was just like, no, this is like really good stuff. And anyway, she like what I'm saying is like she didn't take like the formal art classes, but she painted and painted and painted, and her style emerged, and it was like wonderful to see. So you don't have to go to art school, but one reason to go would be to make friends and be in that like positive, hopefully, environment. Um, and if you can't afford to go for 4 years, or you don't want to go for 4 years, like just going long enough to make friends is good enough, because your life is valuable, and it's important to like honor yourself in your life and like really follow your what feels like the most loving to yourself. Anyway, so that's my longish description of art school, good and bad. Anyway, I might do one on like my music involvement and stuff sometime, but I just thought like since I am an artist, and I've only been doing like intuitive videos mostly, I thought I would like do something else for a bit and like just get engaged with my audience on other topics and about like projects I'm working on now, which includes music. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this, and if you subscribe, that'd be great. And take care. Talk to you later. Bye.